So with our motion is on the floor to buy a computer, you think the conversation has gone on long enough. You say, I move to close debate.
I move to close debate.
Second.
What if you don't have 3 people? Like you're living in a small community or whatever, and there isn't 3 people.
Instead you only have 2, you mean?
We have 2 in our town.
2 on?
2 delegates.
Oh, okay.
She's talking about for the
when you
two-thirds.
go to the meeting, it don't count that way.
Yeah, right. The 2/3 of everybody there.
Okay.
But in fact,
But on other committees that they do have,
if they only have 2, then it takes both to close debate. And actually, if you get one person to move it and the other person to second it, you're kind of there. But that's closed debate. All those in favor of closing debate, and you notice it's not amendable and it's not debatable because you don't want to waste time talking about whether or not you want to stop talking. So all those in favor of closing debate on the motion to buy a computer say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. This motion, by the way, never loses. People are always willing to stop debate. The ayes have it. Debate is stopped, and we will now immediately proceed to the vote on the motion to purchase a computer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and we will purchase the computer.
So there's no discussion?
No, not when, because what we've said is when we have the previous question to close debate, we've said we're finished talking about it. Let's just vote. It's quite... In situations where they don't have rules and you do have rules here, it's very common in convention. Then the privileged motions, the first one, which we don't use often enough. Do you see where it says call for the orders of the day? Now that is a parliamentary way of saying, can we get back to the item on the agenda? Can we get back to what's on the floor? It's when you've started out at point B, at point A, and after conversation you're wandering around and now you're talking about something entirely different. That you might say in your meeting, we have a motion on the floor. Can we get back to the motion on the floor? Or you might say, can we get back to the item on the agenda? You see that it can interrupt. And you simply say, I call for the orders of the day.
But this would be used when we get off tangent kind of type thing. The chair was kind of like not really paying attention. It wasn't guiding.
Tread water.
And sometimes, as speak as myself, sometimes as the chair, you kind of have gotten interested in this side, this side topic too, and you need someone to remind you of where you should be. It's wonderful if an organization has what I call a gatekeeper. That's a person who is a part of the group who says things like, if I could summarize the 3 points I'm hearing, a person like that is really helpful. Or a person who says, we're way off topic, we get back to the agenda. Those are people who help remind us what our work is. Raise a question of privilege. Interrupts. Yes? I rise to a question of privilege. What's your privilege? It's too warm in here. The microphones aren't loud enough. I wish that the speakers would go to the microphone. Those are all questions of privilege. And the chair should immediately resolve it. I rise to a question of privilege. The last speaker questioned my integrity, and I wish the chair to tell that person that's inappropriate. That's a question of privilege. So that's above that is recess, of course adjourn, and then the not frequently used fix the time to which to adjourn motion, which is if you don't have if you haven't finished your work, you can set another meeting. But we don't use that too much in the realm of public body because of the notice requirements. Looking at the back, I'd like to go to point of order. You see it's about 8 things down. You're in the meeting. You're not satisfied that things are going correctly. You can call a point of order. See, there you are, Joe. Point of order.
Point of order.
The chair did not require a second on that last motion. That's your point of order. And I say it didn't need one. Now that's my response to you. You are dissatisfied with my response. You don't argue now. you immediately go to the very first motion.
Appeal.
Appeal.
I move to appeal.
I appeal the decision of the chair. So when I responded to you that the motion did not need a second, you were not satisfied that that was correct. And so the thing to do is appeal the decision of the chair. This is not used enough. If people are in the parking lot grumbling and kicking tires, it's because they didn't appeal enough during the meeting. They're having the conversation now outside that they should have had during the meeting. And sometimes people call point of order, and when the chair responds, they think that's the end of it. But you can always appeal. So in this case, and you see that the appeal can interrupt. So you've raised a point of order, the chair has responded to it, you're dissatisfied, you appeal the decision of the chair. Chair must say, the decision of the chair has been appealed. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to appeal the decision of the chair. The chair, the presiding officer, gets to speak first and says, this is why I decided why I was deciding. Usually the first speaker is the person who made the motion. The chair should always offer the courtesy to speak first to the person who made the motion. In this case, that person is going to go second. So I can explain. I said that the motion didn't need a second because it came from a committee. And Robert says motions from a committee do not require a second. Then you could make the counterclaim, well, actually, it wasn't really a committee report. It was one person, and they didn't speak for whatever you wish to say. Then we would allow anyone else to speak once. And the final thing is the chair gets to speak one last time.
If it was a misunderstanding, could whoever called the point of order, could they just withdraw their appeal?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've purposely chosen something that doesn't have a lot of contention. Just to give an example. It might be something of a much more significant issue where the chair hadn't properly called on somebody who was at a microphone, and point of order point of parliamentary query is always about procedural items. Yes.
So if you're at a meeting and the chair ran through some items very, very quickly, and you felt you didn't have a chance to, ask a point of information or object, this is what you would do.
Right. Right.
Point of order, and so ask him that question concerning whatever that issue is, and then when he responds, or he or she responds
Right.
to your liking or satisfying.
Right. And of course, you're always going to be listening to that. If there is no objection, we will. And that's where you want to object.
Yes.
So that you can call for a vote. That is what you do when you object. Ask, is there any objection? I object. Well, then the chair has to actually take the vote, which is usually a majority vote. In this case, the chair is going to speak last and then ask the question, shall the decision of the chair be sustained? And it has to be a majority vote. All those in favor sustain the chair. Now, if the chair is not sustained, then we would proceed on the chair would say in this case, thank you, the decision of the chair was not sustained. Is there a second to the motion? So the chair would go to remedy whatever the question had been.
I don't want to get too far off tangent, but just in the case if the chairman doesn't respond to your point of order, how would you handle that? So you did point of order and you brought your point up and the chair didn't respond and just moved on.
Just moved on. Say it again. Point of parliamentary inquiry. I demand that the chair respond.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the things that we see that's unfortunate is on the Republican and Democratic conventions, they get that gavel and they just bang, 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 bang to not have anybody hear. According to Robert's rules, the gavel should only be used twice. Once to call the meeting to order, and once the meeting is adjourned. That's all it's for. And it'll be interesting. I have done in last 2 years 2 national conventions where they used bells when they wanted to call the meeting to order. It was so much nicer, and people were very responsive, chiming bells, so it was loud enough. But instead of the person standing at the microphone going, rah, 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 bang, 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 will the meeting come to order? The bells rang and people got quite quiet and sat down.